I can't. I do not want to talk about this book anymore. I'm literally so heartbroken. I just need to move on. Hi guys, my name is Julie. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm super excited because we are going to be reading advanced readers copies of books that have not released yet. If you don't know what an advanced readers copy is, also known as an ARC, it is basically a book that a publisher or an author will send out free of charge ahead of time to reviewers in order to get those early reviews and get like the knowledge of their book spread. So I have 4 ARCs that we're going to be reading in this video. This is free of charge. I'm not getting paid to review any of these, and all my thoughts are my own. So without further ado, the 4 books that I'm going to be reading in this video are October releases. The first is A Song to Drown Rivers by Anne Liang. This comes out October 1st, 2024. Then we have Fang Fiction by Kate Stayman London. This comes out October 1st, 2024. For She is a Wrath by Emily Varga, which comes out October 29th, 2024. And Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wong, which comes out October 29th, 2024. Honestly, I'm so excited for all of these. I've read 2 as of filming this intro because I forgot to film an intro. But Blood Over Brighthaven is definitely the one I'm the most excited for, just because I have heard such great things about Emma Wong, and I feel like maybe their writing style will fit my taste the most, just because I am an R.F. Kuang stan, and so many people are if you love the Puppy War, you're gonna love Swords of Kaigen, you're gonna love Blood Over Brighthaven, and I'm oh my god. Give it to me now. Send it to me, Rachel. Basically, I'm super excited to read all of these. Obviously, I wouldn't have wanted to read the ARCs if I didn't want to read the books. So basically, I'll be going over the synopsis of the book whenever we get to that part of the reading vlog. The first book we are going to read is A Song to Drown Rivers by Anne Liang. It comes out October 1st, 2024. This is a Chinese-inspired retelling of the legend of Cixi. It follows the main character, Cixi. She comes from a poor family and she usually washes linens, mostly silks, to afford to provide food for her family. One day she stumbles upon the commander of I don't even remember the king's commander. He's pretty up there in military or something like that. I don't know. But basically he's a commander. His name is Fan Li. And he realizes oh, she's beautiful, because Cixi is very beautiful. She is I'm pretty sure considered one of the 4 beauties of ancient China or something like that. I saw that online. I don't know too much about the legend of Cixi, but I know that it basically follows this girl and she's very beautiful. And so she uses that beauty to her advantage to go to this rival kingdom, the Wu Kingdom, and basically trick the king into falling in love with her. She is kind of it's not a consort. I can't remember the word. Basically, she goes over there, she is spying for her kingdom, and she's trying to get that king to fall in love with her so she can take down that kingdom. And that's basically the premise of the book, is that Cixi is just going over there to be a spy and make the other king fall in love with her. I have read this book as of right now, but you guys haven't seen me read it. Anyways, so I don't know. I do describe it more whenever I read the book, so we'll just get into that right now. Bye! Okay, so I'm about 50% into A Song to Drown Rivers, and so far I really have nothing to say besides that I'm just a little disappointed. I feel the character development, the plot development, it's just been a bit lackluster. I feel the world building is kind of more less info dumpy and more learn as you go, but I feel we're not learning that much. We're getting little kernels of information here and there, and I just feel it's not creating an atmosphere or a world that I care about where the plot is going, because as I said, the plot is mainly she's super beautiful and that's her weapon. She has to hone that and learn the skills to be able to spy for her kingdom and go to this other kingdom, marry the king there, get him to fall for her, and basically take down his kingdom. But I feel we just haven't gotten a lot about the world or the characters. There was a bit of a romance, and I'm pretty sure that's literally the main romance of the book, and I just didn't care because it was so insta-lovey. Genuinely, on the 3rd chapter they were already into each other, and I was hey, so I don't know anything about your characters, why do you like that person? I want to understand why. We just never really got that. I feel it could have been built up more in a trainee-trainer montage, where the main character, her beauty is her weapon, and that's kind of why she's being taken to this other kingdom. But she also is going to be a spy, so she needs to develop these skills as a spy, and I feel she didn't really develop them. I thought it was going to be this whole thing, a huge chunk of the plot, and it just wasn't. It was literally 2 chapters. She did one thing, and then he was oh, you do this thing, and then the next chapter she had it down already, and she like had all these other skills, and I was like, hey, so like you just skipped like 10 weeks and we didn't see any of that. So it's like we don't really like see that development of her character, of their romance, of like why they like each other. And I was just like, like this story is super fast paced, I will say that, but like it's not in like a good way, I'd say. Like I feel like it's too fast paced and we're not getting development of like anything happening in the story. One thing I did find funny was I feel like I'm getting like Pride and Prejudice like references in this book. I'm not sure if that's like intentional or not, like, but I just feel like this author definitely has watched Pride and Prejudice 2005, because there's just some stuff that like the main male character was like saying or doing that I was like, this girl likes Darcy, like. But other than that, like, there's really nothing to say. I guess like the prose in this book, I could see how someone would really like it. I feel like because I'm not super connected to the character or the plot, that the writing is kind of like getting on my nerves, because I'm like, okay, it's so beautiful, but like that can't be all. Like we need to have like some development, some description, and I feel like I'm just not getting that, so I'm a bit disappointed. I feel like this was really negative. I feel really bad, but like there's just nothing really much else that I can say right now. I'm gonna continue reading and then I'll update you guys like in a little bit about how I feel, but yeah, so far I'm not super impressed. Okay, so where I'm at right now, I'm about 64% in. The male main character, Fawn Lee, has just come back into the picture. I'm not sure for how long, because I honestly have no idea where this plot is going. But I will say one thing. If you connect to the romance at the beginning of the book and you like are like rooting for them, I feel like you will really enjoy this book, because I feel like the writing is very beautiful. It's kind of wordy, but it's like also like the prose is very nice, and it's has a lot of like, I'd say, quotable quotes. So if you connect to the romance, I think you would enjoy this. I just personally didn't connect to the romance, so it kind of just feels like overwritten for me, because I'm like, hey, like, don't even know why you like each other. But I don't know. I think it's just personal preference and like the way that you connect with things. I know some people like don't have an issue with insta love, and I do. Like I like a real slow burn. So I don't know. I think it's just personal preference, but yeah, that's all I had to say. Another thing though, that's not all I had to say, I guess. But another thing I would say is that even though this is like a historical fantasy, it heavily leans towards the historical aspect. I haven't noticed anything fantastical, at least nothing like super outspokenly fantastical, if that makes sense. I just like have noticed like not much. So that's all I wanted to say for now. Not even 2 seconds after I finished talking, something actually insane just happened, and I'm like, hey, like I don't even care that it happened, because I'm not like connected to the characters and to the story, but I'm like, hey, like where's the development? Like where did that come from? Miss An Ling, she keeps trying to shock me. Oh my gosh. Like I will say the plot is interesting. I just feel like it wasn't built up well, but I'm like interested in where it's going now. But I want to know how it ends. I'm interested. I feel like I'm at 75%. I'm like, what else could happen? Like, is this gonna be a series? Because hopefully it's a standalone. Alright guys, so it's the next morning. I finished A Song of John Rivers last night, and I feel like in the last clip you kind of saw like the ending was kind of shocking for me, and it was. I'm not like too familiar with the legend of Sishi, and if that's like kind of like accurate to the legend, but other reviews that I did see were saying that like they are familiar with that legend, and that it kind of like follows it like pretty closely, minus like the romance part of the book. I thought it was really interesting. I do think the writing was really beautiful, like the prose. I would definitely pick up another book by this author in the future. I feel like this one just didn't really do it for me. The characters and the plot, I just feel like they were like a bit underdeveloped for me, and I didn't really enjoy it as much as I would have if I felt like it was like built up more at the start. I do think the book could have benefited from being like a lot longer and going more into depth into like certain things, like the training montage, or her years being in like the castle of the other kingdom, because it was like a 2-year time span basically, and it just didn't feel like that because the pacing was so quick. And I really did enjoy the pacing because it was so quick. I like read it super fast. I read it in like 3 sittings in one day, so I was like, it was very entertaining, but I just don't think that it was like, for me personally, I just think that I need a little bit more build up for the characters. Overall, I think it was okay. I'm gonna give it a 2.5 stars, and not in like that I think this book is bad by any means. I just don't think that I like books that don't have like a lot of character development. That's just like personal preference. I would still say like form your own opinions. Like if the plot of the book sounds interesting to you, or like the premise, just like read it for yourself. It does release October 1st, 2024. And yeah. Okay, and then this morning I started Fang Fiction by Kate Stayman London. This is like a vampire rom-com, follows our main character Tess. When the book starts out, she is a PhD student at Columbia, and she is obsessed with these vampire novels called Blood Feud. They are basically following like these 2 twin vampires and then this other dude, and it's kind of like really smutty, but like also action-packed, kind of like think like Twilight, I guess. And they're stuck on an island because they were banished there by the Emperor, and that's kind of all we've gathered so far. But Tess loves these books. It's actually how she met her best friend, who was also a student in her grad school cohort, and they become best friends in like 2 weeks. And then by the end of like the spring semester, it says like from them starting their grad school, they end up getting an apartment together and they're like living their best life. But then something happens, and the main character Tess was assaulted at a party, and it kind of like just put her in a really dark place, and she ended up dropping out of her grad school program and moving out and not telling anyone why. And so she like was in a really dark place, but she ended up getting a job at this really chic Brooklyn hotel, and she moved there. She works the night shift, and like basically she works a lot, and then in her free time she's kind of just like reading Blood Feud and like looking into conspiracy theories, because there are a lot of theories going around that those vampires are actually real. There's like pictures, there's like conspiracy theories and like historical events that like people are like, hey, like that was like those characters, like people think that they're real. But she's like kind of on like a, she doesn't really know if they're real, but it's like a fun thing to like join in on. But that's until the day of her best friend's 29th birthday party, when she goes to the party, and then she like something bad happens because the guy who assaulted her showed up to the party, so she left. And then whenever she gets back to the hotel, there's this disastrous wedding going on, and she has to go help because she is the manager, like she manages the hotel. And then who ends up being there but one of the twin vampires. So they basically, where I'm at right now, I'm about 12% into the book. The vampires are like, hey, like we need your help. All of this was in the description, like it's not a spoiler. That's where I'm at right now. So far it's really entertaining. I feel like I liked Tessa's character like from the jump. Like she was just like, I feel like the writing is super rom-com, super interesting. It's like has really funny moments, and I'm really enjoying this so far. So I'm gonna eat breakfast and then I'm gonna continue reading this. It sounds like it's gonna be really entertaining. So I'm about 54% in. I do feel like it's slowing down just like a little bit from where it was at the beginning of the book, but like I feel like that's pretty normal because it's like halfway through the book, there's still like 200-ish pages left. I find it really interesting so far. I like the atmosphere of like the novel, and right now where we're at, we're getting like kind of 2 storylines. So we're getting one of the twins and the best friend in New York, and then we're getting Tess and like the other twin on the island. And it's really interesting. I like both of the point of views. I feel like I know where it's going, but it like at the same time there's other aspects that I don't know, so it's really like intriguing, and it makes me want to keep reading it. And I feel like a lot of the characters are starting to come together, and I'm really interested to see like how that kind of goes. Okay guys, so I was gonna say Blood Feud. Fang Fiction by Kate Stayman London. I think I'm gonna land on about a 3.5 star for this, which is not a bad rating. A 3-star rating is pretty middle of the road for me. It's like a book that I enjoyed, that was entertaining, but one that's not gonna stick with me for very long. And this was like kind of exactly that. I really enjoyed the premise. I feel like the whole Blood Feud thing, like with the vampires being like part of a book series, and then it having like all these fans was super entertaining. There was a lot of mixed media and I really enjoyed it. There were a lot of pop culture references, which usually I wouldn't enjoy in a book, but it kind of just felt like campy, if you know what I mean. Like, this felt like a fan fiction that was not trying to not be a fan fiction, and it was just really entertaining. Like, it was a really good time. I feel like it was like kind of getting me in the mood for like fall, like the vampires, like October, Halloween, everything like that. As I said, the main character Tess, she had a really traumatic thing happen to her in her past. She was sexually assaulted, and I feel like that was handled very well in the book. I feel like the depictions weren't very graphic. However, I'd still recommend like checking trigger warnings before reading. I feel like there could have been like a little bit more depth to her healing, because I feel like it happened pretty fast, but also like everybody deals with things at their own pace, and like I feel like for the story it made sense and where it was going. I don't think it was used as like a token or anything like that, which when books do that, like, it literally makes me feel sick. The way that it ended, it was entertaining, but I think it happened a little too fast. There wasn't enough development for me, and I feel like sometimes, like, in the book, it's kind of like when I was reading A Song to Drown Rivers, I was like, did that just happen? And not like in a shock factor way. It's like, not that I'm like not shocked, like I'm obviously shocked, and that's why I'm like, oh, why did that just happen? But it's kind of more in the sense that I'm like, when did this build up? For a romance book, I feel like the romance between the main male character and the main female character could have been built up a little bit more. I felt like it was like going at a good pace, and honestly, they didn't even get together for like a good chunk of the book, but I felt like their dynamic switched very fast, and I didn't really see the growth. I wouldn't say this is like an enemies to lovers, because they're not really enemies, but like it's like distrust to lovers kind of thing, and I feel like it kind of progressed a little too quickly, and I was like, girl, like, overall, this was a really fun read. I would recommend it for like if you want just like a little filler book that's still entertaining, still has like vampires and all those fall things, and it was just a good time. It was very entertaining. I read this very quickly. I think it was like a 400-page book, and I read it in probably 5 hours. It was very easy to just sit and binge, and it was just a really good time. I think that while it's not perfect, while the development could have been a little bit more, it honestly just read to me like a fanfic, and not like in a derogatory meaning. Like, I meant like it was really just enjoyable time and felt fun. So yeah. So where we're at now, basically I have For She Is Wrath and Blood Over Brighthaven. I don't even know if I'm gonna start another book today. Like, I'll let you guys know later, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I need to like let myself like process. Hi guys, so little intermission. I guess I accidentally ended up deleting the video of my like introducing what the book is about and talking about what book I'm gonna read. So I do end up reading For She Is a Wrath by Emily Varga. And basically, just for a short premise, this book follows a girl named Dania. It's a Pakistani romantic fantasy retelling of the Count of Monte Cristo. We start the book off with Dania in prison, and we learn that she's in prison for murder, but that she was actually betrayed by the boy that she loved. His name is Mazin, and he's the emperor's adopted son. She wants to escape the prison in order to seek revenge for this betrayal and get back to her dad, who's the sword maker for the emperor. And she ends up meeting this girl who's also trying to escape, and then the story basically just goes from there. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I do talk a little bit about it in my review, so we're just going to go start it now, I guess. Tell me why literally the dedications already made me sad. That was sad. I obviously can't say it because you're not supposed to say like quotes from arcs, but that was sad. Hi guys! So, ignore my retainer, but it is 9 p.m. the next day. I started For She's Wrath yesterday, like you guys saw. I got about 12% in. So far, not too much has happened. Like, I feel like it's been pretty action-packed. Like, we're getting into the plot right away, and we're getting some background on the main character, which I'm really enjoying because I feel like that's kind of been lacking in the last couple books that I read, and I feel like it does help me connect more to the character when we get more information about them, like, straight off the bat, and we don't have to wait till like half the way into the book. Basically, I feel like I'm liking it so far. Today I was planning to pick it up again, but then I had to do like a lot of yard work, so I downloaded a Libby audiobook. I got 5 Star Ride by Holly Black, and I ended up listening to like half of the audiobook while I was doing yard work. And then I just got really into the story, and I didn't want to like stop, so I picked it up on Kindle, and then I just read that and finished that today. So I haven't read anything more in For She Is a Wrath, but I'm gonna read a couple chapters before bed, and then I guess I'll pick it up in the morning But yeah, that's my update for now. I'll let you guys know when I have more updates on this book. So I have an update. If I'm being honest, I finished this like a couple days ago. I wrote down a couple points that I want to go over. So overall, I was a little disappointed. I feel like the pacing was kind of off a little bit because I feel like in the beginning it starts out super action-packed. Obviously, she's escaping prison, which is like what it says on the back of the book. It's like pretty entertaining from the beginning, and then it slows down around the middle part because she's kind of like figuring out what her plan is, what she wants to do, and she's like gathering all these supplies and everything she needs, and that part was really entertaining me. I was really loving the book up to that point, but I feel like after like maybe the halfway point, I feel like it started to like kind of just go way too fast. Like I felt like a lot of the things that we were building up to happened just very fast, and it was like not paying off for me personally. Like some of the stuff that was happening, I was like, hey, that was just like way too quick because we talked about this for like half the book and now it just happened in like 10 seconds, which like it made sense, but it was also like another thing I will say was I felt like the development of like the characters after like maybe like 20% of the book kind of just like stopped. Like I feel like we didn't get too much. We did get like some background about like the main character Dania and her like past relationships, like her relationship with her father, with Mazin, who's like the love interest of the book, and kind of like what he did to betray her. But overall, I just feel like the romance and like the characters were just a bit underdeveloped. Like I feel like they weren't completely fleshed out, especially Dania after like a certain part of the book. I felt she just wasn't fleshed out enough, and especially the girl that she escaped the prison with was like so flat. Like as a character, it just didn't make sense for me. Like I've never read The Count of Monte Cristo, so I'm not sure like if that was supposed to be like that or not. I also don't know if the end was supposed to be like that, but overall I was just a little disappointed with like how the pacing went and like the development of the characters and everything. I also just feel like there could have been like a little bit more world building because we didn't get super in-depth descriptions of like the empire and like the kingdom that they live in and like everything like that. But overall, I did think this was a good time. It was very fast paced and I feel like it was like a decently written story. Like I didn't mind the prose or anything like that. Like it wasn't bad by any means, and I did enjoy it. I would still recommend it if it like sounds good to you because maybe it would work for other people, but I just feel like to me I just didn't feel like it was like a huge payoff in the end, and I was kind of annoyed by the end, but I know that I think it's a little accurate to like The Count of Monte Cristo and it is retelling, so do with that information what you will. As of right now, I don't remember what I gave this on Goodreads. I think it was like a 3.5 or like a 3.75. I'm not sure. I'll put it on the screen. Then I started Blood Over Bright by Emma Wong. This is a book that I forgot to describe because I was just so excited about like getting into it. So I'm gonna go over that with you right now. So basically, Blood Over Brighthaven takes place in the city. It's called Tehran. It's like a industrial utopia. If you see me looking off to the side, that's because I have my notes and I read this a couple days ago and my brain just wants to like completely put this book out of my mind for a good reason. Just watch. But it is something that was like a lot to take in, so I do have my notes. Tehran is an industrial utopia and it's in a world not so unlike our own. It follows this main character. Her name is Siona. She is a very determined person. She has been working her entire life since she was orphaned at like age 4 and sent to live with her aunt and her cousin. She's been working in order to become a high mage. She wants to be the first female high mage in the history of the city. The city is very much patriarchal, so it's very difficult for her to even like get the ability to test to become a high mage. They only let one woman test every 10 years and she ends up getting the test. I mean, from the back of the book we know that she ends up becoming a high mage because that's where the plot goes, but that is not a spoiler. It says it on the back of the book. Anyway, she's like very driven. She has to prove a lot because of just like the world she's grown up in, and she has a lot of difficulty, and she is very driven by power especially. And when she finally becomes a high mage, she realizes that although she proved herself and everything, she's still not going to be treated as equal just because she's a woman, because they don't think that she's to their level, even though we know that she is like literally above them. So all these high mages, they're supposed to be having like assistants to help with their research, and because she's working towards a project, which I'm not going to say because I feel like you should just read the book, but she is basically assigned this project that she has to work towards, and usually they get like research assistants, but they're like, oh, we ran out of assistants, but she knows it's because they don't want like a guy to work under her because they're like, oh, that's like demeaning, whatever. They give her Tomo, who is the janitor, and they're like, haha, he's a janitor, he's not universally educated, like he's not going to be a good assistant. And she takes him, but they don't know that Tomil is like a nomadic hunter from outside of the town. He comes from this clan, and at the beginning of the book, the clan is trying to make it past this place, but there's this thing called the blight, and it like basically kills people. And you learn a lot about this throughout the book. I feel like I'm not doing this justice. Like, it is a dark academia. It is commentary on like so many different topics that are very prominent in our world, and it is just so amazing. I'm just gonna stop talking and we're gonna get into me reading this book because it really is a time. Guys, I'm literally so scared. I have such high hope. I literally can't even talk. I have such high hopes for this book. It just sounds so good, like alchemy, high mage. I'm like, oh, just like darken it. I genuinely am just freaking out, like knowing that I'm like about to read this. Like, I'm so scared. I really hope it lives up to my expectations. I'm trying not to be like too critical, like lower the bar a little bit, because I can't believe I'm reading this right now. I'm scared. I literally am just like on the chapter page and I'm just like, oh my god. I'm gonna start it. I'm gonna start it. Y'all, I'm like 14% in, and we kind of just like got past the point that like we found out in the synopsis of the book about like how the female main character, she's like taking this test to become a high mage, and she's like the first ever female high mage. And then we find out like in the description of the book that the main male character is like, he's lost all his family, and then he comes to the city that she's in basically, and then but like their stories haven't connected yet. This is so good. Tell me why I'm literally like getting 5-star feelings. Like, the writing is impeccable. The world itself, like it sounds so intricate, so like big brain. It's so good so far. Like, I'm actually like, if I want to pre-order a book, if I want to order a book within like the first like 3 chapters, like that's how you know it's good. And I literally just finished the 3rd chapter, and this is amazing. This is so good. Oh my gosh. This dude is so sweet. I like their characters so much. I mean, okay, like I feel like she has some stuff to work through, a little bit like prejudice, but you know, okay guys, so it's the next day. I have some updates on Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wong. I'm about 30% in, but I do have some great things to say about this book so far. From the jump, we got so much action, so much entertainment, and I feel like that really helped me to connect to these characters from the start, because they were going through these like very perilous things, and I was like, hey, like I want them to succeed. I want them to like do good. I want them to get through this. And it definitely did aid in me connecting to these characters, which is something that has been lacking throughout this video. And so I'm really loving that aspect of the book. Like, I want to read about these characters and see their point of views and see them interact with each other. And I feel like the dark academia setting, the writing, it's all impeccable. This is more like post-academia, so like I guess the main character, she's gone through all of like the academia. Now she's like in her endpoint, but she has this goal that she's working towards. She has like 11 weeks to get this done, to formulate a plan and like get it sent off. So we're kind of like working through that plot point, but knowing that she has Tomil as an assistant now, because since she's like the first female high mage, she's basically getting like the brunt of like the jokes. She's getting like made fun of. She's not being treated equally. They gave her Tomil, who is the janitor, and they're like, here, you can have him, because I guess he's not like technically qualified because he doesn't have like a university education, but we know that he's like pretty smart. Like, he's a very quick learner. He's just gonna be quite fine. He's probably going to be better than the other research assistants because he is like just very talented. He's learned a lot throughout his history, which we haven't gotten too much of. We got like a little bit of world building in that terms, but we're kind of getting more world building towards the magic system and the world and the city that they're living in right now. The delivery of the world, like the world building and the information that we need to know, is very easy to comprehend. Like, it is very dense material. Like, it's kind of difficult to understand. Like, sometimes I do have to reread it, but I feel like the way that it's presented to us and it's being told from the female main character to the male main character, because of the atmosphere that they're in, and because he needs to know this information but he doesn't know any of it, so she's kind of telling him as they go, and that's how we're learning, is really like very well written. It's very easily digestible for the information and how dense it is. I'm really enjoying it. I feel like this story is just going to be overall really great. It's kind of slowed down right now because we started off really like hitting the road, like we were getting a lot of action, and then now it's slowing down because we're getting more of the world building and we're getting more of like their dynamic and their relationship building up through like this academic setting and through her having to finish this goal, and then he's coming along with her as her assistant. Overall, like, not too much has happened since, so I really don't have anything else to comment on, but it's just really good so far. Like, I'm loving the writing. I definitely will be reading Sword of Kaigen this year. Like, it probably will be in my winter TBR because I just think that Emma Wong's writing is super good so far. I feel like the way that everything's being built up is amazing, and I'm just super excited to like jump back into this. So that's what I'm gonna do. I guess I'll give you guys an update when I have one. So just really good so far. This is a book that I would definitely pre-order even though I already read it because it's so good so far. Okay, so I'm about 40% in. So far we're getting like a lot of commentary on like heavy topics like colonization, the patriarchy, religion, and like classism. And it's very interesting the way that it's going about. Obviously, like, it's there for a reason. Like, the female main character, she honestly holds like a lot of prejudice against people that are not from Tehran, because in Tehran, like, I don't know how it's pronounced actually, but in Tehran they're just like very like, they're kind of classist. There is like a patriarchy, and it's very like reflective of like the real world and how like people view others, and people view like outsiders, like people who aren't from that city, from that country, from whatever. And whenever she says something, it makes me so mad. Like, it makes me like cringe, but like I know it's purposeful, and I know there's like she's like already understanding it, but like she's going to understand more how like that is just not okay to think, like, and she's like making generalizations, and every time she's like saying stuff like that, I'm like, girl, like, ugh. But I know it's purposeful, and it's probably like it's gonna have like something of importance to do within the story, but it is commentary on like stuff that goes on, and it is like kind of like a reflection of the real world. Overall, I think this is really entertaining so far. It is very like dark academia. It has like a lot of dense material, but again, I feel like the way that it's conveyed to the readers through the female main character telling it to the male main character is very like easy to comprehend. It's like not watered down, like it is still like dense subjects, but it's like interesting, and I feel like the academia setting is like very intricate, and I am enjoying it so far, and I'm interested to see where it goes with that in the storyline, because we're getting, well, obviously I can't say because that would be a spoiler, but we're getting like some background on like kind of like the religions and like how some of the information comes to be, which is like when I was talking about like colonization and like stealing and stuff like that, that's when that comes in. So like it all makes sense for where the storyline's going. I'm just interested to see where it's going, because I feel like I honestly like have no idea where this book is headed. So just gonna keep going. It's very intriguing so far. I feel like the writing is just really good. Another thing I do have to say is I feel like the analogies that are being used are just so like, it's just so good. Like the commentary and everything that is happening about like culture and religion right now. Like, I want to say the quotes, but I literally can't because it is an arc. It's not out yet, and it's also a spoiler. But I feel like the analogies are just very like well written, well conveying of information. And it's just like the commentary in this is really good. I'm like, oh, I'm eating it up. Oh my god. Oh my god. 41%. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. No way. This is so good. This is so good. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is insane. Guys, I am struggling so hard. I'm on 51%. It is so good. Like, she did her research with this. Emma Wong is literally, it's just everything going on. I'm like, this is so good. This is so good. Like, the book itself is good. Everything happening, literally terrible. Literally so bad. So bad. So bad. This is all stuff that's literally happened in history, stuff that is a reflection of things going on in the world right now, and it's so terrible, but the book is so good. Like it's terrible and it's good at the same time, and I literally don't know what to do with myself. Like, I genuinely, like, this book is like, is this the only book I've ever written? Like, this, am I dramatic? Am I dramatic? Maybe, but this is just really good. Like, I don't see how this will not be a 5 stars. It's just pre-order it. I can't. For fun. So full circle. Oh my god. Hi guys. As you can see, my eyes are pretty puffy. I do not want to talk about this book anymore. I'm literally so heartbroken. I just need to move on. I just need to not think about it anymore. I can't do it. So I'm gonna read you guys my review that I wrote for Goodreads for NetGalley, and then the video is gonna be over because I can't do it. I can't do it. I literally just, I cried so much, like you don't even understand. I'm not doing it. I'm sorry, but I will read you my review. It was a 5-star. My new favorite standalone book. Move over, normal people. There's a new girl in town. Not to be dramatic, but I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. I'm just gonna read you my review and then, but anyways. Okay, so I thought I recorded my review. I think I turned my phone off instead. We're just gonna go over like the key points that I want to talk about. Basically, this book, 6-star, new favorite standalone fantasy. This was impeccable. Literally, my first word of my Goodreads review is, this was a masterpiece. If you want to see more of my in-depth review about my Goodreads, it's down in the description. But basically, this book was just impeccable. The dark academia, amazing. The writing, amazing. The commentary, amazing. The characters, so nice to read about. They were very complex characters, and I feel like the arcs that they went through, the character development, was also very well written. Overall, the prose in this book was actually insane. It hurts me so bad that I'm on a book buying ban right now because I really want to pre-order this and reread it. That's how good it is, and I literally finished it a couple days ago. This book was just so impeccable. Like, if I can get you to read any book on my channel, it would be this or the Poppy War trilogy. Like, literally, these books are just 6-star reads. So good. I would highly recommend this if you want to read like a dark academia with an intriguing magic system, but also like a lot of commentary on things going on in the real world. I would totally recommend this. This was literally impeccable. You didn't even see all of it. Like, literally, like, I was crying 10 times harder than in the last clip, like after turning the camera on, and for like an hour. This book, like, literally just like, it's so humbling. It's just like an experience. Like, it is something you need to experience for yourself. Like, there's nothing I can say more that's gonna convince you. You should just read it for yourself. If the premise sounds interesting to you, it's genuinely impeccable. Like, the writing was insane. Emma Wong is like an autobiography for me from one book now, because this was a genuine, like, I don't even know what else to say. This book was incredible. Like, everything was so well planned out, so well like written, and just, it was such an entertaining read. Like, it never lost me at any point, and that is just something I haven't read in so long. And like, I'm gonna start crying again. Like, I can't talk about this anymore because it was just read it. Just read it. Just it was amazing. I genuinely don't even know what else to say. I guess this is the end of the video because I am not going to be reading any other arcs on this video. If I can get you to read any of these books, please read Blood Over Brighthaven, but also the other books were good as well. Maybe they weren't for me, but I feel like they may be for a different audience. So if they sound interesting to you, you should pick them up. If you stayed this far into the video, thank you so much. Maybe you should subscribe down below because I do post more videos like reading vlogs and just other reading bookish content. If you want to check me out on other platforms, those are always linked down below, as well as my Goodreads, where I have the reviews for all these arcs posted in written detail. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to subscribe, like, comment, do whatever you want to do, that'd be much appreciated. But I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!